So today, we're going to dive into something really powerful. It's a story from a Nepalese writer, Jamak Gimere, and it gets right to the heart of this incredible conflict between a person's love and the huge, crushing weight of their culture's traditions. And we see it all through the eyes of a child, which just makes it even more intense.
So this quote right here, this is the question that sits at the very core of her story. I mean, my grandmother loved me so much. Why did you scare her away with sticks? It's a gut punch, right? It's this painful paradox that really defined her entire childhood. You've got to wonder, how can one person who loves you so much also be the one causing you so much pain?
Okay, so to even begin to unpack that, we have to look at the relationship that this whole story revolves around. It's this incredibly complicated and, contradictory bond between the author and her grandmother.
You know, the author talks about this grandmother who just showered her with love. And affection, she says, was totally irreplaceable. But then, and this is the tough part, this same woman could also be so cruel, pushing her away in a way that, as a little kid, just made absolutely no sense.
And look at this. This really puts it all side by side, doesn't it? On one hand, you have loved me so much, irreplaceable love, just pure affection. But on the other side, scare her away with sticks, blamed an innocent baby girl. I mean, how do you even begin to make sense of that? How can both of these realities come from the very same person? It feels impossible. So that's the big question, right? How could one person be the source of both so much love and so much pain? And what the author shows us is that the answer isn't just about her grandmother as an individual. Nope. To really get it, we have to zoom out and look at the world she was living in, at the powerful, kind of invisible forces that were shaping her every move.
So, let's talk about those forces. What was really going on here? We're going to dig into the massive weight of tradition and the societal pressures that this grandmother was dealing with every single day. We're talking about a world where her own love for her granddaughter was basically in a battle with what she believed was her cultural duty.
Okay, get this. In the culture she grew up in, a woman's entire worth, we're talking her value, her status, even her path to the afterlife, it was all tied to one thing. Could she produce a son? It was a system that put this unbelievable and impossible burden squarely on the shoulders of women.
And let's be super clear here. This wasn't just, a family wanting a boy. This was a whole societal system with real-world consequences. Having a son meant you continued the family line, you secured property, it meant you'd done your job. But having a daughter? Well, that could be seen as a sin, a total failure, not just for you, but for your entire family. And the blame? It fell on the mother.
And this is where the author just points out the tragic, almost absurd irony of the whole thing. She asks, a mother is simply the earth. How is it that people have understood the matter in a totally reverse manner? Basically, biology is what it is, but this blind faith and tradition completely flipped reality on its head, and it put all the blame on women. It was a belief, she says, that had a tight grip on her own mother.
So you've got all this pressure building and building. And then something happens. One single event that brings everything to a head in her family.
And here it is. A son was born. After having two daughters, the moment that the family, and honestly the entire culture, had been holding its breath for, it finally happened. The author's mother gave birth to a son. And you just know, with his arrival, everything was about to change. Big time.
And the reaction was, well, exactly what you'd expect. The author says it brought this exceptional, joyful brilliance into their home. For the grandmother, this was it. This was everything. This was the grandson who would carry on the family name. In her mind, his birth meant her path to heaven was now guaranteed. She was overjoyed. But while everyone else is celebrating, what about our author? What was this moment like for her as a little girl? Well, it was the exact opposite of joy. For her, it was a moment of deep, profound loss.
And this quote just lays it all out so painfully. I was burning inside myself with jealousy. Why? Because her grandmother had ceased loving me as much as she used to. That's the brutal, direct cost of this tradition, isn't it? Her brother's arrival meant her special place in her grandmother's world was just gone. That love was now pointed somewhere else, and all she was left with was this burning jealousy.
So you might think a childhood like this, full of so much love and then so much painful loss, you might think it would break a person, but it didn't break her, not at all. In fact, it did the opposite. It forged this incredibly strong, clear philosophy about what it means to be alive. And this kind of brings us full circle, back to the grandmother's confusing behavior. What was behind all that pushing away? What was she so afraid of? Well, it was this. She will get nothing to eat after I'm gone. It was fear, a deep, consuming fear that her granddaughter, a girl in a world that didn't value girls, simply wouldn't survive without her. And that fear, it came out as cruelty.
But here's the beautiful, powerful twist. Her grandmother was wrong. The author writes so clearly, "Grandma, I have somehow been surviving even in your absence. Just by living, just by continuing on, she proved that fear wrong. Her survival became the ultimate answer. It became her victory."
And this is where it all clicks into place for her. This is her big realization. Life's ultimate purpose, it isn't about fitting into some cultural box. It's not about securing a path to heaven for someone else. No, the most fundamental duty we all have, her family, you, me, everyone, is just to keep on surviving.
And then she just says it. This is philosophy of life. Boom. With those 5 words, she takes all that personal pain, all that confusion, and turns it into this simple, profound, universal truth. It's not some complicated idea from a book. It's a philosophy that was forged in the fire of her own life.
So this whole story kind of leaves us with a really important question to think about, doesn't it? How often do we judge people by their actions without seeing the whole picture? The grandmother wasn't just a cruel person. She was a woman trapped, literally caught, between what her heart felt and what her culture demanded. It's a powerful reminder to try and look past what's on the surface and consider the invisible pressures, the hidden burdens that people are carrying around with them every single day.